Good morning. Thank you everyone for coming out. What a great crowd. We appreciate seeing everyone out this morning. This has been a long time coming, the project in the works for about 2 years. And it actually started several years ago when Vance and Mary Jo had a dream that turned into the Charters of Freedom settings. We wanted to elevate that a little bit, add a few more things to it. Valdese is our home. This is our national headquarters building right next to us here. And so Vance had the idea to come up with an education park to not only display the Charters of Freedom, but many other things as well for the citizens of Valdese, Burt County, and the surrounding areas. We're very proud and privileged to have folks from all walks of life here with us today, representing military, first responders, scouts, chambers of commerce, elected officials, and many more. Thank you all for coming out today. Please give yourselves a round of applause. We would like to get the ceremony started with our invocation. Would Reverend Dr. Josh Lale from First Baptist Church please come up? Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here. I'm honored to be here myself. I have watched this project come together because our church is right back there in the woods, and it is wonderful to be here to welcome this project to our community, and thank you all. I want to read a word prior to my prayer this morning, and it comes from the book of Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy, the people of God at this point are impressing things upon their children that they need to remember. And one of those things is about the character of God, and I see these documents as revealing the character of who we are, and they have now for more than 200 years. And I'm thankful that they can be here in the center of town so that they can be seen, they can be read, and more importantly, that they can be discussed. I want to read this from Deuteronomy 6, verse 6. I'll actually begin in verse 7. When God is speaking to his people, he says, "Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road." As we see here on Main Street, we have these Charters of Freedom that allow us to experience this as we literally walk down the street, and for that I am thankful. Our Jewish sisters and brothers have a concept called midrash, and that is where we begin to not only read ancient texts, but to converse civilly over those texts. And my prayer today is that this space will be a space for that. Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for the freedom we have, the freedom we thank you for that we enjoy in this nation, the freedom to walk down the street and learn our history, the freedom to live in a diverse, multicultural, multi-religious nation, a place where we can learn from those who are different than us, where we can learn how to exist together civilly and harmoniously. I pray that as we do just that, as we walk by these Charters of Freedom day after day, that we will stop and we will enjoy civil discourse over the documents that our founding fathers wrote for us many years ago. Allow us to apply their truths. Allow us to interpret their truths. Allow us to practice midrash so that we may indeed bridge the history and the future of our nation. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Lale. Now we will have the presentation of colors by the Burt County Sheriff's Office Color Guard. And the National Anthem by Miss Mindy Cook, Choral Director, Heritage Middle School. Everyone stand. Gentlemen, please remove your hats.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proud twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched that were gallantly streaming, and the rocket red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you very much. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance by Foundation Forward Zone, Don Ramsey.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. All right. We could use a little breeze, huh? Now I would just like to take a few moments to recognize some of the contributors who made this project possible, as well as many of the dignitaries who are joining us today. Starting with our contributors, this project started out as a dream and a vision by one of our founders, Mr. Vance Patterson. And he discussed that vision with Miles Champion, an engineer who took that, made some incredible drawings, and basically was the first step in bringing this to reality. We couldn't have done it without him. Drawings are amazing, and they've helped us in not only our media, but our fundraising as well. So thank you, Miles Champion, for that. Next, the process went to Evans Construction, who excavated over 100 tons of dirt. This entire leveled area that you see here used to be a hill going 18 feet high up to the back of that wall. And Evans Construction came in and excavated over 100 tons of dirt to make this happen for us. Appalachian Naturescapes did a lot of the work on the park as you see it now, including the bubbling boulder water fountain feature that we have, planters, flagpoles. Thank you very much to Appalachian Naturescapes. Connolly Springs Electric came in and ran all of the electric for the lighting, for many of the features that you see, as well as to our building to help coordinate all of this and to grow in the future. Southern Lights and McNeely Fence, we would like to thank them as well. And on the ground here in front of the Constitution, you see an area of bricks. We call them legacy pavers, and we call that our field of honor. There are both brick and granite pavers in there, and many people have already made donations to get their names or the names of their business or their organization engraved on those pavers, but there are still many spots left. So if anyone would like to make a tax-deductible contribution, please see Connie Snyder at the table in the back, or any of the folks from Foundation Forward after the event, and we would love to get you recognized by one of these donations. They start at $100 and go up from there. Many other aspects of the park are also available for donation. If you would like to be recognized as a sponsor of the flagpoles, the planters, the fountain, anything like that, we're happy to discuss that with you afterwards. No donation is too small or too large. So if you can donate $5, you'll be recognized. If you can donate $5 million, my name is Mike Unruh. Please come see me after the event, and I'll be happy to make sure that you get all the recognition you desire. All right. So to our dignitaries in the crowd, and I'm going to give a special recognition to not a person who's a dignitary, but a business, and well, a person too, but WSVM Radio 96.5 and Eddie Jolly. Thank you very much for all of the coverage that you've done, inviting people to this event, and for all of the help that you've given us throughout the years. We greatly appreciate it. Everyone tune in to 96.5 on your dial. Or, we don't have dials anymore, right, do we? Yeah. Okay. When I call your name to be recognized, please either stand or raise your hand, and remain standing or keep your hand raised until I have honored all of the dignitaries in attendance. All right? North Carolina State Senator Warren Daniel. Burt County Commissioners. Honorable Clifford Smith, District Court Judge. Ashley Brown, Catawba Valley Community College and Girl Scouts leader. Jerry Davis, CEO, Burt County Chamber of Commerce, retired. Scott Coley, CEO and President, Coley Furniture Designs. Vivian Streeter, CEO of Broughton Hospital. Troy Duckworth, Vice President and Branch Leader, Truist Bank. Seth Hunt, Burt County School Board of Education. Janine Burris, Principal, Drawn High School. Dr. Mike Swan, Superintendent, Burt County Schools. Ms. Christy Gupton, Membership Chair for the Lake James District for the Boy Scouts of America. Todd Drum, Director of J. Iverson Riddle Development Center. Mr. Lamar Smitherman, Director of Outreach, School of Math and Science. Burt County Chamber of Commerce. Town of Valdese. Francis Hildebrand. Seth Eckert. Mayor Charlie Watts, Town of Valdese. Ryan Kisner, Director of Bands, Drawn High School. And with these dignitaries, let's give them an ovation along with the Drawn High School Band. Thank you all very much. You may be seated. Now, I'm sure everyone is tired of hearing me talk, and I'm tired of hearing me talk as well, because I'm not the main part of the show. I have the esteemed honor and privilege to introduce our founders, Mary Jo and Vance Patterson. Please forgive me. I misread my notes here. Before Vance and Mary Jo come up, we do have Dr. Michael Swan, Superintendent of Schools, is going to say a few words. followed by Mayor Charlie Watts.
Good morning. Some people didn't recognize me with the hat, but this time last year I had a little more hair on my head. So I first want to thank the Drawn High School Band Program. Kudos to you guys, phenomenal job as always. Under the direction of Mr. Kisner, the program at Drawn High School has flourished. And as a former middle school and a high school principal, I've had the perfect opportunity to watch students come in and it sounded like screeching cats playing, and then they get to this level as high school students. So once again, let's give them an applause. Thank you. I would also like to thank the Foundation Forward Incorporation for having a vision back in 2011 to begin the promotion of civics, education, and the preservation of American history for the communities of Burke County and also across 9 other states. Burke County Public Schools will continue to visit these sites in Burke County during our backyard field trip opportunities. Once again, I want to thank you for coming out today and supporting the Foundation Forward Incorporation. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I would like to invite up Valdese Mayor Charlie Watts. Thank you.
Move back down where I can reach it. Good morning. Welcome to Valdese. Come back and stay. We like you. We like visitors. We're excited to be here today for the official opening of the Foundation Forward Charters of Freedom setting. And we're certainly glad to have so many visitors to our town, our wonderful town, our beautiful town, the best town in Burke County. Anybody here from Morganton? I'm sorry. Before I start with the message I have today, I want to thank our town employees from the Community Affairs Department, Public Works, and our Fire and Police Department. Keeping us safe, keeping the roads blocked and open, and I appreciate y'all more than you know. Most of it. I appreciate that. Thank you. As Mayor of Valdese and on behalf of the Valdese Town Council, it's a privilege for me to speak here today. I'm humbled to stand in such a setting that tells the story of our great nation, its founding fathers, and shares the sacred documents upon which our great nation was built upon. I'm honored to be surrounded too by veterans. How many veterans we have here today? I know there's some. There's more than that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Thank you for your service. Valdese is truly blessed that Foundation Forward has chosen our downtown for not only the placement of their newest setting, but also for their headquarters. Their investment in this prime corner on Main Street will be enjoyed and visited by locals and visitors for decades to come. Foundation Forward has provided our community a place where history meets the future, a place where our children can learn of our founding fathers and of the challenges they faced in building our great nation, the greatest nation on the planet of the earth. Don't forget that. Never. This park will serve Valdese as a place for all to see firsthand the pillars from which our nation was formed. A learning place, a teaching place, a place for all ages to enjoy. I pray that as we dedicate this special edition to Valdese, that Charters of Freedom, Foundation Forward, Educational Park will encourage and inspire our children and visitors of all ages. I want them to feel the chill that I feel when I hear our national anthem played. And I want them to be filled with the heartfelt pride when they see our nation's flag blowing freely in the breeze. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Watts. Quickly, I would also like to thank the Valdese post of the American Legion for donating all of the chairs today as well. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our founders, Mary Jo and Vance Patterson.
All right, she's not coming up here, but she's there and she's smiling right now. You are to be commended for making the effort to show up today. My question for you is, are you ready to be a part of history? Because we're going to dedicate your Charters of Freedom setting, and it's going to be here for the next 300 to 500 years, and your future generations are going to know you were here. My name is Vance Patterson. I'm a father of 4, married 47 years to my wife, Mary Jo, and yes, I can still make her laugh. We have been residents of Burke County now for 27 years, currently live over by Nebo. I'm a businessman. I have a company that makes industrial fans. We actually make things out of metal, ship them across the country and around the world. I'm a very proud American manufacturer. I'm going to tell you a little about the inspiration behind the foundation that brought you your Charters of Freedom. I'm going to tell you a little about the setting itself, and then I'm going to give you a challenge to take with you. About 11 years ago, Mary Jo and I were up in Washington, D.C., and we had some free time, so we decided to go over to the National Archives because we'd never seen the original Declaration of Independence and U.S. Constitution. We found ourselves wandering down these hallways looking at different exhibits, and then it opened into this large room. We walked through these big bronze gates, and there on the other side of this rotunda were the founding documents. Declaration of Independence on the left, 4 pages of the Constitution in the middle, and the Bill of Rights on the right. This is when we learned that these are known as the Charters of Freedom. Now, one of the things I liked about being in the rotunda was there were no lines. You just wander around looking at different exhibits, and when you get a chance, you step up and look at the founding documents. And I'll never forget the first time I saw the original Declaration of Independence. Something our founding fathers had actually penned. And then I looked down and saw their signatures. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Rutledge, Wilson, and the others. I just got goosebumps. And then we moved over and saw the first page of the U.S. Constitution. And those 3 words, we the people. I actually got a lump in my throat. Mary Jo is wiping tears out of her eyes. It was really an emotional experience for us. Well, the following year, back here in Burke County, I got to thinking about that experience. And a thought came to me. What if I could duplicate that experience and bring it back to the citizens of Burke County? Well, I told Mary Jo about the thought, so we started working on a project, and it turned out to be an education project. And the scope was to design and build a replica of the Charters of Freedom as displayed in the rotunda of the National Archives. We wanted to put that replica in a central location in Burke County. It had to have high visibility, high foot traffic, and easy access for school children. Well, it took over 2 years to get this done, even though it was a gift from Mary Jo and I to the county. But after a late night joint session of the Burke County Commissioners and the City of Morganton City Council, they agreed on a location and agreed to accept the gift from us. Well, there was something Mary Jo and I hadn't told anybody, and that was the fact that we'd only seen these documents once. And there are no prints, no drawings, no measurements, no dimensions, nothing available to the public. So the next morning, after that late night meeting, Mary Jo and I got up, drove back up to Washington, walked into the rotunda, and now they won't let you take out a tape measure and measure a national treasure. But we had a plan. I walked up to the U.S. Constitution, right at the end of it, and I did this. And I was standing in the middle, so I knew it was about 12 feet long. Meanwhile, Mary Jo was walking up to the settings, turning around and facing the audience, and marking on her body the different elevations. And then we left. So I tell people, while your setting may not be exactly what's up in Washington, keep in mind, it's based on 2 paces of a short guy and 3 marks on my wife's body. Well, on July 2nd, 2014, we dedicated the first Charters of Freedom setting outside of Washington, D.C. on the old Burke Courthouse Green in downtown Morganton. That setting was so well received, and we enjoyed the process so much that we decided to do another one. And that one went in Murphy, North Carolina. Cherokee County, as far west as you can go. That was dedicated on September 17th, 2014, Constitution Day. The third one went downtown in Buncombe County, downtown Asheville. Well, during this time, we decided to set up a 501c3, a foundation, because we knew we were going to be doing more. Foundation Forward has three principles, very quickly. Number one is education. Education on American history surrounding the founding of our country, and civics, government. So all will know how government is meant to serve and protect all people. Number two is access. See, most people can't get up, a lot of people can't get up to Washington to see the National Archives and see the original documents. It took Mary Jo and I over 60 years to get there the first time. So we want to provide access to these documents in a community in a proper setting. And number three is community. Having your Charters of Freedom setting here in downtown Valdese, North Carolina, gives you a place to gather, to celebrate, to honor, and to reflect. To date, we have dedicated and gifted 39 Charters of Freedom settings across the country. In North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Alabama, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Nebraska, South Dakota, and as far west as Carson City, Nevada, and as far north as Wasilla, Alaska. Your setting here is the 40th. It's the 25th here in North Carolina. And there's something very special about your setting that I'm going to tell you about in a little bit. First, let me tell you a little about the setting itself. One of the things I learned in life is that if you want a monument or a setting to last, you put more underground than above ground. Your foundation here goes down 3.5 feet. It is solid, reinforced poured concrete, coming up into a solid core. Just the centerpiece, core and foundation, weighs over 38,000 pounds, over 19 tons. It's then surrounded by 4 inches of brick and mortar. That doesn't do any good when you got a mic on. There are 6 documents displayed. Each document is on 1/4 inch Dutch bronze and weighs over 60 pounds. They're then placed in a document chamber and covered by 1/4 inch treated polycarbonate. It's unbreakable glass. Please don't try it. There's a medallion on the front of the centerpiece, just like on the front of this podium, which is very special. I commissioned a number of artists across the country to come up with this design. The eagle represents the Declaration of Independence. Proud, bold, defiant. The 7 stars above the eagle represent the 7 articles of the U.S. Constitution. And the 10 stars under the eagle represent the first 10 amendments, your Bill of Rights. There's a vault in the back of the centerpiece, which I'll tell you a little bit later. Turn that down a little bit, the main. Now people ask us why we're doing this, and I tell them it's more important than money. We believe this gives us a direct link to our founding fathers by helping to preserve what it is they gave this country, a government to serve and protect we the people. From the beginning, this has been an education project. We learned that we had 4 founding fathers of education: Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and James Madison. These founding fathers believed that in order to have a free and independent country, you must understand how government works, that you cannot control what you do not understand. Thomas Jefferson in 1787 said, "Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty." And James Madison, a 5'4" virtual rock star of his era, wrote in 1822, "A people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power knowledge gives." You wouldn't believe how many people come up to us when we're building these settings and say, "That's it? Just 4 pages to the U.S. Constitution?" And we tell them, that's it. All of our government and our laws are based on those 4 pages. You wouldn't believe how many people don't know that the first 10 amendments are your Bill of Rights. I guarantee there are people here hearing that for the first time and learning. You see, education. Now, you may have noticed, I haven't been calling this a monument. The definition of a monument is a memorial to honor a person or an event. This is not a memorial. This is an active, hands-on educational supplement for your school's curriculum. Imagine, if you will, teachers bringing their 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classes down here to your Charters of Freedom for annual field trips. While they're here, they'll learn a little about the Founding Fathers, excuse me, a little about these documents. They'll learn about history. They'll learn about government. They'll learn about state and local heroes. And they are amazing field trips. This is happening right now across the country in communities that have their own Charters of Freedom. And their children love these annual field trips. There are 3,142 counties, boroughs, parishes, independent cities, census zones, and the District of Columbia in the United States. Our long-term goal as a foundation is to place Charters of Freedom settings in as many of those communities as possible over the next 10 years. Our short-term goal is to do all 100 counties of North Carolina and to do all 46 counties of South Carolina. So people across the country are saying, what is going on in the Carolinas? Our hope is that our future leaders will come from communities that have their own Charters of Freedom, that their children will grow up no longer just talking about the Declaration, Constitution, and Bill of Rights in Washington. They'll be talking about their Constitution and their Bill of Rights, the ones they grew up with right here in Valdese, North Carolina. Now, I told you there was something special about your setting. I've been talking about 3 documents. If you'll notice, there are 4 covered up here. As I would do presentations across the Carolinas and across the country, I would sometimes get a question like, well, what about the other amendments? And I knew what they were talking about, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. 13th abolishes slavery, 14th guarantees citizenship, and the 15th guarantees the right to vote. And I'd say something like, well, those are very important, but they're not part of the Charters of Freedom, so they're not part of the gift. And sometimes that would get in the way of them accepting the gift. So I got to thinking, this has gotten to be a lot bigger than just the experience Mary Jo and I had up in Washington. It's much more about education. And people need to know that those civil rights amendments are in place. So I did some research and I learned that there is no document listing the civil rights amendments. Not only that, but there's 2 more that need to be on there. The 19th for women's suffrage and the 24th for no poll tax as a result of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So I took what I found, I put it in a form, and I commissioned a world-renowned calligraphy artist, John Stevens in Winston-Salem, to come up with a document listing these civil rights amendments. It took him 5 months to do it, which, being an entrepreneur, I thought was a little bit long, but he came up with a true work of art. So at this time, Senator Daniel, will you step up to the black one? Nope, that one. At this time, I present to you the first Civil Rights Amendment document for all of the state of North Carolina and all of the United States of America. I don't know how that could have happened. It's like a wedding. Things happen, but when you get done, it's finally done. There he is right there. All right, in closing, I told you there was going to be a challenge. And should you decide to accept this challenge, Connie Snyder is going to be handing out challenge coins over at the desk. You're welcome to pick up one of those coins to remind you that you have accepted this challenge. Our founding fathers were challenged by the greatest force on earth, the British Empire. They rebelled, they revolted, they fought a war and won a war, all the while setting up a government that is still in effect over 230 years later and replicated by more than 60% of the countries around the world. They met their challenge. Foundation Forward, the city of Valdese, including Mayor Charlie Watts, we're challenged with bringing you a Charters of Freedom setting. As of today, we have met our challenge. Your challenge actually began about 6 years ago. Mary Jo and I had just finished dedicating a Charters of Freedom setting at Hanover College in southern Indiana. We were getting ready to leave, and I looked across the campus center and I saw Ron Wells, African-American facilities engineer. He helped me a lot during the setup for the dedication. I said, I gotta go thank this guy again. So I walked up, shaking Ron's hand. I said, Ron, thanks again for all the help you gave me. And he said something like, well, thank you for making this contribution to our community. And then I said what I usually say, you're welcome, just make sure they use it after we leave. And he looked at me and he said, Mr. Patterson, I've already done that. I brought my son over last night and we had the talk. And I said, Ron, that means more to me than anything anybody's ever said after a dedication. Way to go. So here's your challenge. You bring your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, or other family member down here to your Charters of Freedom. And you have the talk like Ron Wells did. You tell them about their freedoms and rights and how those freedoms and rights give them an advantage over the rest of the world to pursue their passion, to chase their dreams, to accomplish their goals and get out of life what they want to get out of life. You do that. You do that, Mary Jo and I and all of Foundation Forward, we will call it even. Thank you. And now will Charlie Watts and Mary Jo please come up. I don't think so. The Charters of Freedom setting, located at 227 Main Street West, Valdese, North Carolina, is hereby gifted from Foundation Forward of Burke County, North Carolina, to the children, veterans, and citizens of Valdese, North Carolina. All rights, responsibilities, and care for this setting displaying the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Civil Rights Amendments will be taken on by Foundation Forward on behalf of the town of Valdese. All right, I believe we just have two more things to do. I know it's hot out here, but this is a good part. Could I have my drummer up here, please? My two drummers. As I said, there's a vault in the back of the center. We're not going to do any dedication to that today. But in that vault, it's going to be a time capsule. In the time capsule will be letters, will be memorabilia. There'll be letters from law enforcement, from military community, from the government of Valdese. Don't go too far away. We're going to seal that vault probably in about 3 or 4 months. It won't be opened again until September 17th, 2087, the 300th anniversary of the U.S. Constitution. On that day, all vaults, all time capsules will be opened across the country. So it should be a pretty interesting day when they start reading those. Now, if you're here on the day that time capsule is opened and there's any problem getting into the safe, we've given the combination to Charlie Watts, so you know who had it last. The last thing we're going to do is a cannon salute. I knew when I did the first dedication I wanted to do a cannon salute, but I didn't know how many times to fire the cannon. I knew 21 was not right, it wouldn't be appropriate. So I did some research and learned that cannon salute started back, or the cannon's volleys started back in the 1600s. A ship pulling into port would turn its guns to sea and fire 7 rounds, showing that they were not a threat to the port. Well, the port, having more gun and more powder, would answer 3 in kind. But again, I knew 21 wasn't right. Then I remembered we did business up in Scotland, and they had a cannon up on the old fort. And the story was told to me that the Scottish liked the way the British marked the time of day at noon. They'd fire 12 rounds. Well, the Scottish, being Scottish, reasoned, why fire 12 rounds at noon when we could wait 1 hour and save 11 rounds? So every day at 1 o'clock, there's a howitzer in the old fort that goes off to mark the time of day. Incidentally, I am Scottish heritage, so I take that personal. I knew my number was somewhere between 1 and 21, and I decided on 7, partly because of history, but also because there are 7 articles of the U.S. Constitution. We're going to fire 1 round for each article in the U.S. Constitution. What did I miss?
Well, you didn't miss anything, but our cannoneers need to come back. They're listed in the program.
Oh, we need our cannoneers that are listed in the program. Please come up to Perry Snyder. We are not dedicating the park today. That will be later this fall in September. We'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony for it. You're welcome to wander around in the park a little bit. It's pretty warm in there, but it'll give you an idea of what it's going to be like. On the right side will be a history timeline of the Revolutionary War. On the left side will be a review of the government, federal government, state government, local, and community. In the back will be a tribute to our 6 forces of the armed services. Are my cannoneers ready? Drum roll, please. Article 1 defines the legislative branch, composed of the House of Representatives and the Senate. It describes their powers and responsibilities. Article 2 defines the executive branch, the qualifications for president and vice president, their powers, responsibilities, and means of removal from office. Article 3 sets up the judicial branch, the Supreme Court and the lower court system. It protects the right of trial by jury and defines treason. Article 4 gives the states the right to make and carry out their own laws related to the people and problems of their state, so long as those laws do not conflict with the United States Constitution. Article 5 outlines the process of amending the United States Constitution. Article 6 sets up the status of the United States Constitution as the supreme law of the land, to which all leaders, including the legislative, executive, and judicial, must be loyal. Article 7 addresses the ratification and declares that the United States Constitution should take effect if 9 of 13 states ratify. Children, veterans, and all citizens of Valdese, North Carolina, I give you your charters of freedom. Be sure and sign up over at the side. Be sure and get your challenge coin. And thank you for coming out this morning.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Oh, nice job.